The image that comes to mind every time I look at my kitchen now is astonishing. 3 months ago, that same space was silently making me sick. Expired products hidden in overcrowded cabinets, utensils I didn't even remember owning, drawers that barely closed, and worst of all, an increasingly processed diet because I didn't have time to cook in that chaos. That's when I realized my kitchen wasn't just a disorganized room. It was actively sabotaging my health. The excess of objects created an environment that made it impossible to maintain healthy habits. The more cluttered the cabinets, the less I could cook nutritious meals. The mess was literally pushing me toward harmful food choices. My transformation journey started with a simple question: what do I really need in this space to live well? I wasn't seeking perfection. I was seeking functionality and peace. And what I discovered completely changed my relationship with food, my home, and honestly, my mental health. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how I transformed my chaotic kitchen into a wellness hub through Japanese minimalism. It's not about having fewer items. It's about having the right items intentionally organized that support a more balanced life. The change was so profound that my chronic headaches disappeared, I lost weight naturally, and I regained the joy of preparing meals at home. My method is simple, practical, and most importantly, sustainable in the long run. If you also feel like your kitchen is working against you instead of for you, stay tuned until the end. The transformation I'm about to share might be exactly what you need to regain control, not just of your space, but of your health as a whole. The first step in my transformation was an honest assessment of the situation. I opened every cabinet, every drawer, and laid everything I had in the kitchen out on the table. It was startling to see how much I had accumulated. Pots with burnt bottoms that I kept just in case. 6 different spatulas when I only used one. 15 glasses of various sizes for a house with 2 people, spices that had been expired for years, appliances that I promised to use one day. Confronting all those items was a moment of clarity. Each unnecessary item represented wasted energy spent on cleaning, searching, organizing, and maintaining. It was as if each superfluous object drained a little of my vitality each day. In a kitchen that should foster nourishment and care, I had cultivated stress and overwhelm. I then developed 3 simple questions for each item. Have I used this in the last 6 months? Does this item bring me joy when I use it? And is there another item that serves the same purpose? It was surprising how these questions cut through the emotional clutter that made me hold on to useless things. It wasn't about discarding for the sake of discarding, but about creating space for what truly mattered. The decisions were not always easy. There were items with sentimental value, gifts from loved ones, things I bought during special moments. For these, I created a small area for treasures, a single space where I kept the few items that held genuine emotional worth, but that I didn't use daily. The immediate result was visible. For the first time in years, I could see the back of my cabinets. The drawers closed smoothly. Finding what I needed became instant, not a frustrating search. But the impact went far beyond physical organization. I started to notice subtle changes in my behavior. With fewer obstacles between me and the act of cooking, I began preparing more meals at home. The simplicity of the space made cleaning so easy that it no longer felt like a heavy chore. I discovered that by removing the excess, I was not just organizing objects. I was reorganizing my habits. The next step was to rethink the arrangement of everything that remained. I realized that the way we organize our kitchen can either facilitate or hinder healthy habits. I then developed the principle of intention zones, specific areas organized according to their function and frequency of use. In the preparation zone, near the sink and cutting boards, I kept only essential knives and the utensils I use daily to prepare fresh food. In the cooking zone next to the stove, I placed only the pans I regularly use, each with a specific purpose, no duplicates or extras. I created a whole food zone at eye level in the pantry, where I kept grains, legumes, nuts, and other unprocessed foods in clear containers. The few processed foods I still consumed were placed on a lower shelf, less accessible, a subtle barrier that made me think twice before choosing them. In the refrigerator, I reorganized everything so that fruits, vegetables, and greens were the first things I saw upon opening the door. It's amazing how this simple repositioning influenced my daily choices. When nutritious foods are the most visible and accessible, we naturally lean towards choosing them. Another principle I adopted was the one-touch rule. Any item should be positioned so that I could grab it with just one motion, without having to move other things first. This meant no stacking pots, no utensils hidden behind others. Each object had its designated place, accessible and logical. This spatial reorganization had a profound effect on how I moved through the kitchen. My movements became fluid, almost meditative. Preparing a meal ceased to be a battle against disorder and transformed into a calm, conscious process. The transformation of the physical space naturally led to a change in my relationship with time. Previously, the disorganization in the kitchen was my excuse to reach for ultra-processed foods and delivery. "I don't have time to cook in this mess," had been my mantra. But by simplifying the environment, I discovered just how much time I was truly wasting searching for things, cleaning cluttered surfaces, or simply trying to decide where to start. I then developed simple routines that fit naturally into the flow of life. Every night before bed, I made sure the sink was empty and the surfaces were clean, a gift for my future self. On Sundays, I dedicated an hour to prepare some staple foods for the week: a cooked grain, chopped vegetables, maybe a simple soup. It wasn't a rigid plan, just a foundation that made it easier to make healthy choices during the busy week. These little routines transformed into enjoyable rituals, not chores. Keeping order became less of an effort and evolved into a natural, almost unconscious habit. I realized that minimalism wasn't about deprivation. It was about creating space for what truly mattered. One of the most transformative aspects of this journey was the change in my relationship with consumption. Previously, it was easy to be seduced by promising kitchen gadgets, revolutionary utensils, and products that claimed to make everything faster, easier, and more beautiful. I would buy impulsively, drawn in by the promise of a better life through more things. Now, when I consider bringing a new item into my kitchen, I ask myself deep questions. Will this object solve a real problem I have? Is there something I already own that can serve the same purpose? Will this item bring lasting value to my life, or just momentary satisfaction? This awareness has extended beyond physical objects. I've started to question what I'm bringing into my body as well. The simplicity of the kitchen inspired me to seek simplicity in food. I realized I didn't need exotic or complicated ingredients to create nutritious and satisfying meals. I rediscovered the joy of simple foods prepared with care: a bowl of perfectly cooked rice, seasonal vegetables lightly sautéed, a homemade soup made with a few ingredients but a lot of attention. I found that just as in physical space, conscious simplicity in food brought more satisfaction than abundance without purpose. This new relationship with consumption brought an unexpected sense of freedom. No longer feeling the constant need to acquire new things opened up mental and financial space. I began to invest in fewer items, but of higher quality and durability. A good knife that would last for years instead of several mediocre ones that would need replacing. Well-made pots that distributed heat evenly and brought joy to use. As I progressed on this journey, I realized that the true power of minimalism was its impact on my daily habits. The simplified and functional kitchen removed the invisible barriers that had previously prevented me from making healthy choices. Cooking at home became easier than ordering takeout. Cleaning while preparing food became second nature, rather than a task put off. Choosing whole foods became simple when they were visible and accessible. The external order created conditions for internal order. I then developed what I call habit minimalism, identifying and maintaining only the habits that truly contribute to my well-being, while eliminating those that drained my energy without providing real benefits. Just as I had done with physical objects, I took an honest inventory of my eating and cooking habits. I identified patterns that were not serving me. Eating in front of the television, distracted, impulsively buying food that often went to waste, postponing cleaning the kitchen until it became a monumental task. One by one, I worked to replace these habits with others that were more aligned with my values and goals. The change wasn't instantaneous or perfect. There were days of relapse, moments of frustration, occasions when clutter threatened to return, but the difference was that I now had awareness, I had tools, and I had a clear vision of what I wanted for my space and my life. Each time I returned to the basics, keeping only what's essential, organizing with intention, creating sustainable routines, I regained my balance. Over time, these principles became so integrated into my daily life that they ceased to be effortful and simply became my natural way of living. One of the most surprising aspects of this journey was realizing how the transformation of my kitchen spread to other areas of my life. The clarity and calm I found in this space began to influence how I organized my office, my wardrobe, and even my schedule. I started applying the same questions to other aspects of life. Is this really necessary? Does this bring me joy or value? Is there a simpler way to achieve the same result? I discovered that minimalism was not just a decorating style, but a philosophy of life that could be applied to nearly everything. In my diet, this philosophy has translated into simpler, yet deeply satisfying meals. I discovered that I didn't need complex menus or exotic ingredients to feel nourished and happy. A small variety of whole foods, prepared with care and gratitude, provided more satisfaction than elaborate meals consumed mindlessly. My relationship with grocery shopping has also changed drastically. Instead of impulsively filling up my cart, I started buying less more frequently, focusing on fresh, unprocessed foods. Ironically, this simplification expanded my palate. By cooking with more basic ingredients, I learned to appreciate their natural flavors and experiment with simple yet creative combinations. The daily practice of keeping the kitchen organized also brought unexpected benefits to my mental health. The act of cleaning and organizing, when done mindfully and not as a hated chore, became almost meditative. Washing dishes, wiping down surfaces, putting items in their places, these small rituals transformed into moments of mindfulness that anchor my day. I realized that visual clutter also created a subliminal mental clutter. Every time I entered a chaotic kitchen, even without consciously noticing, my brain registered dozens of unfinished tasks, things out of place, pending decisions. This constant visual noise drained mental energy that could have been directed toward more important matters. In contrast, entering an organized and intentional space provided an immediate sense of calm. There were no pending decisions, no accumulated tasks shouting for attention, just an invitation to be present and create. This calmer mental state naturally influenced my food choices. I discovered that during times of stress and mental overload, I tended to reach for ultra-processed foods high in sugar and fats. It was as if my already overwhelmed brain didn't have the energy to make more mindful choices. With the mental clarity provided by an organized environment, it became easier to make food choices aligned with my true desires for health and well-being. It wasn't about willpower. It was about creating conditions that made healthy choices feel more natural and accessible. This cascading effect, from physical organization to mental clarity, and from mental clarity to more mindful food choices, was perhaps the most transformative aspect of this journey. I wasn't just reorganizing objects, I was reorganizing my relationship with food, my body, and my health as a whole. As my kitchen transformed, I began to notice concrete changes in my physical health. The frequent headaches that I attributed to stress started to decrease. My energy levels became more stable throughout the day. Sleep, which had been restless, became deeper and more restorative. It wasn't about a strict diet or an intense exercise program. It was simply the result of removing obstacles that prevented me from naturally taking care of myself. With a functional and inviting kitchen, preparing nutritious meals stopped being a burden and became a pleasure. With whole foods easily accessible, making healthy choices became the path of least resistance. Minimalism in the kitchen has revealed a fundamental truth. Often, the biggest obstacle to a healthy life is not a lack of knowledge or determination, but rather excess of objects, options, information, and distractions. By removing this excess, we create space for our natural instincts of self-care to flourish. This space also allowed me to rediscover the sensory pleasure of food. When we eat surrounded by clutter and distracted by multiple stimuli, we lose the ability to truly savor and appreciate our meals. In contrast, a simple meal enjoyed in a calm environment can provide a profound satisfaction that no amount of food consumed distractedly could offer. I began to practice what could be called mindful eating, paying full attention to the colors, textures, aromas, and flavors of what I was eating. This simple practice completely transformed my relationship with food. Instead of eating out of boredom, stress, or habit, I started eating primarily for nutrition and genuine pleasure. Once again, this wasn't about rigid rules or deprivation. It was about creating conditions for a more natural and harmonious relationship with food. Just as a minimalist kitchen doesn't mean an empty kitchen, minimal eating doesn't imply restriction. It means choosing intentionally, savoring fully, and recognizing when enough is enough. This journey taught me that true abundance doesn't come from having more, but from fully appreciating what we have. A kitchen with a few carefully chosen items can provide more satisfaction than one that is cluttered with rarely used gadgets. A simple meal, enjoyed with presence, can nourish both body and soul more deeply than a banquet consumed absent-mindedly. When sharing this experience, I do not intend to offer a one-size-fits-all model to be followed rigidly. Each person has unique circumstances, needs, and preferences. What I provide are principles that can be adapted and personalized for different lives and homes. The first principle is awareness, honestly observing how your current environment impacts your habits and well-being. The second is intentionality, making conscious decisions about what to keep in your life and how to organize it. The third is sustainability, creating systems and habits that can be maintained in the long run without excessive effort. Applied to the kitchen, these principles can transform not just one room in your home, but potentially your entire relationship with food, health, and well-being. After all, the kitchen is not just a place to prepare meals. It is a space where we nourish ourselves and those we love, where we transform simple ingredients into nourishment and pleasure, where we express care through food. When we treat this space with the importance it deserves, when we organize it to support healthy habits and moments of connection, we are directly investing in our quality of life. It's not about aesthetic perfection or following decor trends. It's about creating an environment that works for your well-being, not against it. If you're feeling overwhelmed by the clutter in your kitchen, if you notice that this space is making it harder instead of easier to make healthy choices, I invite you to consider the principles I've shared. Start small, maybe just one drawer or one cabinet. Notice how you feel when you use that space after organizing it with intention. Allow that feeling to inspire you to keep going. Remember that this is not a transformation that happens overnight. It is a journey of small changes that over time create a profound impact. Every item you decide to keep or remove, every habit you cultivate or abandon, every food choice you make, all of these are steps in this journey. Minimalism in the kitchen is not about creating a space that looks like it came out of a home decor magazine. It's about creating a space that works for you, that supports your values and goals, that makes it easier to live in alignment with your best intentions. It's about removing what does not serve to make room for what truly matters. My kitchen today is neither perfect nor immaculate. There are still days of more clutter, moments of neglect, times when old habits try to resurface. The difference is that now I have awareness, I have tools, I have a clear vision of what I want for this space and for my life as a whole. And perhaps this is the greatest gift that minimalism can offer: clarity. In a world that constantly tells us we need more things, more options, more stimuli, minimalism reminds us that often the path to a fuller life is about having less, but with more meaning and intention. If your kitchen currently seems to be working against your health instead of supporting it, know that change is possible. A complete renovation or significant investments are not necessary, just a new way of looking at the space and a willingness to question the status quo. Small changes, implemented with intention and maintained consistently, can transform not just your kitchen, but potentially your entire relationship with food and health. The true power of minimalism in the kitchen isn't in the visible results, the organized cabinets or the clean surfaces, but in the invisible impact on our habits, choices, and overall well-being. It's about creating an environment that invites us to take better care of ourselves in a more conscious and compassionate way. I hope my journey can inspire you to look at your own kitchen with new eyes, to see beyond the superficial appearance and realize how this space is influencing your habits and your health, to consider that perhaps, just perhaps, the path to a healthier and more fulfilling life doesn't lie in adding more, but in subtracting what doesn't serve us, making room for what truly matters. The transformation of my kitchen was just the beginning of a larger journey toward a more conscious and intentional life, a journey that continues every day, with each choice, each moment of presence and attention, a journey that I hope can inspire your own. Please share this blessed video so it can touch and help others like you and me. Don't forget to click the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being part of our faith community. If you would like to support our channel a little more, consider becoming a member. I'm leaving 2 more videos here for you to continue your search. Thank you and may God bless you all. See you soon.